everyone. I'm Kim with Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for liking the video. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I also love when you comment. So definitely do that because I want to hear from you, especially today. What we're going to be talking about in today's video is 10 ways that you can use tarot, or the cards really, but tarot specifically, as this is a part of the series I'm doing in support of the Antique Anatomy Tarot study group that's happening on my Facebook primarily, but I do videos here to share content that will support that study group. So this is a part of it. So if you are curious about ways to work with your decks, stay tuned. And we're back. So let's get right to it. I'm gonna just run right through the different ways that you can utilize your tarot decks or oracle decks or whatever decks you're called to use. First one is consider using your decks in spreads. Now, some people are anti-spreads. They are not interested in doing a tarot or oracle spread. They just want to shuffle the cards, pull a card. In my case, use jumpers and see what happens to the questions that we just ask of the cards and move on. But some of us really gain a lot of insight into the messages that are demonstrated in a full tarot or oracle spread. And you can journal that information that you're writing, or if you're doing a spread for yourself, you could take a picture so you can refer back to it later, or record a video of your impressions of what each of the positions that the cards are in are speaking to you and what they're saying in conjunction with the question that's being asked of that position. It's quite beautiful actually to use spreads. And I encourage people that don't typically like to use spreads to use them from time to time. You don't have to use them for a client. I don't typically use a traditional like Celtic spread for a client reading. I don't. I actually create custom spreads for my clients per reading. So I offer more premium type of services for my clients and they appreciate it. And I have routine, regular clients who come back to me regularly. So yeah, tarot spreads are helpful to just kind of exercise that part of your tarot or oracle reading brain. All right, moving on to the number two way that you can use your tarot or oracle decks. Tarot being what I'm thinking of right now. Meditation. So you could take a particular card. Do I have a tarot deck? I do. I actually do. I have my Antique Anatomy Tarot right here close by. Let's look at. And I can say, okay, today's draw is the 10 of elixirs, 10 of cups. So I could meditate on what does that mean to me? What thoughts come to mind when I think of, and meditate on the themes of the 10 of cups traditionally. Or I could meditate on how I wish to incorporate, since it's a favorable card, how do I wish to incorporate that in my today, in my now, in my thoughts, all of that good stuff. You know what I mean? So when you're meditating, you're able to maybe take one or two big themes from this card. Maybe it's important to just kind of get clear on a couple of themes you want to focus on and have just almost like a mantra running in your brain over and over again as you drift off into a meditative state. You could do that. You could just simply be mindful of the messages. You could have this, I have spots back here where I post up cards of the day. I have several of them on this table. And I could just look at it and meditate, spend about 5 minutes just meditating on the 10 of cups, 10 of elixirs. and gaining a lot of insight. You can meditate and journal later about what revelations came up for you. Journaling for me is not just writing, although for me, I'm a writer, so I love to journal with pen to paper. But you could journal typing like a Word document on your computer. You have a voice recorder and document what's coming up for you. You could video record like what we're doing now. All right, and we'll talk more about journaling, and I guess I got a little ahead of myself. We'll talk more about that, but sometimes with meditation, it's helpful to write or record what came up for you during your meditations. It helps me. I actually even have a specific journal for meditation revelations, and I don't add to it every single day, but sometimes I do. All right, next topic is spell work. You can use the tarot or oracle as you do your spell work. And that is going to be individual to each and every one of us. Spell work is unique. There are obviously some consistent things that people do when they're doing candle work or spell work or, etc. Sure. But it also is very unique and individual to the person who is doing it. So for me, I can only speak for myself, honestly, in this. I'm sure there's scholars, who could talk all day about how people use it in spell work, and they're some sort of all-knowing person about it, but I'm not. For me, I do candle spell work. And in conjunction with that, I have 2 decks that I use. And I use a tarot deck and an oracle deck to consult questions about, asking my ancestors, my guides on, guidance for this particular spell. What is the focus of this spell? What are the energies surrounding how the spell will unfold? What are some key things that I need to do for this spell? So I'm asking the cards that. So that's one way I use the tarot and oracle decks for my spell work. The other way is that once I've done the spell work, and I particularly use candles for my spell work, by the way, I should say. That is the magic that I've been working with primarily. That's not something of like my mind and thoughts. This is something that is actually concrete in the form of physical spell work, and it's candles that I've loved to take on, and crystals and things of that nature, but I love candle work. I digress. So I will have the cards that are represented, and they could have been cards that I am called to keep on my altar while this candle spell is going, however long it takes this candle to burn. These cards stand here, and I meditate with these cards, and I sit with these cards, and I journal on these cards. So there's different ways that I incorporate the tarot and oracle with my spell work, as I've mentioned. All right, moving on to number 5, which should have actually been number 4, is journaling. And we've already touched upon journaling quite a bit. But journaling for me is the foundation of the way that I work with my tarot and oracle. It was like that when I first started working with reading the cards, and all I was reading for was myself. So I have journals and journals and journals, you guys, of reading after reading that I did for myself. I use the cards to help me manifest quite a few different things that have happened in my life. And so I would journal the different spreads or different questions I asked, and what cards came up, and what my initial impressions were for those cards. I put those in those journals. And like I said, I have like 6 or 7 journals that were so important to me. I think I packed away like maybe 2 at my parents' house, but the rest came with me. That's how important they were to me, because many of them document things that have unfolded in my life, and the cards had either predicted it or helped me work and process through it. So I journal about that. I use the cards to give me jumping off points, what to journal on, different topics to journal on, right? So maybe I get, let's see what comes up next. And I use jumpers. So let's see what card I would get to work with today for this week's journal. Because in the tarot study, I often say, each week spend at least a day, and that's not asking a lot. One time per week, journal. You could select a card. In this case, I'm going to be journaling about the Queen of Elixirs from the Antique Anatomy Tarot. That's what I'm going to be journaling on. Isn't she gorgeous? So that's what I'm going to be journaling about, the different essences. And I also encourage you guys to check out my color correspondences to the tarot that I did as a part of this tarot study, and check out the numerology. You could take those different correspondences, elements, knowledge that you have about the cards. Maybe you're going through a situation and you're like, oh, this card jumped for me today. How does it apply to that? I can journal about that. Or if I don't want to journal about what's something personally going on, I can think about those correspondences, those elements, the key meanings to each of the cards, and talk about what's coming up for me in terms of my understanding of what they mean. You could use a more predictive way of like, oh, this is predicting, this is coming up. Or you could use it more in a prescriptive way of what is the Queen of Elixirs needing to share with me? What is it that I need to download from her? And using those correspondences, using your intuition first and foremost, and then allowing it to guide you on what correspondences to consult and use, when to really go with the actual standard meanings, or when to go with where you're called intuitively to go to for a card meaning, and journal about it. It is so beautiful to consult a journal later and see the entries, especially if you're clear, because sometimes if you don't date the journal entry and don't kind of give a context to what you're journaling about, it can be quite confusing. So do yourself a favor, especially if you're handwriting or if you're doing an online journal, date it, label it, and then have your questions and then the corresponding cards and then the text of what you're writing about. I type fast, so oftentimes I use my computer, my laptop, and type in a Word document because I type really fast, and my handwriting gets sloppier as I go, as I go faster in writing, and I can't really understand what I wrote later on. So sometimes typing is helpful, but oftentimes it feels really good to put pen to paper and journal that way, which I've been doing since I was a little girl, and now I just incorporate tarot and oracle into the mix. Okay, let's move on to number 6, altar cards, which I've already talked about and shared. You can see some I have over here. I do a weekly pull. Some people do a daily pull. Sometimes I don't do a pull at all, or I do it as I'm called to. It might be every 3 or 4 weeks. It might be a month. But lately, it's been a consistent every week, and that's just what I've been spiritually needing to get my practice back up and going. So I have a set over here. You guys can't see these cards over here that always seem to talk with the cards that jumped over here. And then I even have another stand here for more altar cards. See, this stand, it's like, so I have large stands, multi-stands throughout because I really love gleaning information from the altar cards. Altar does not necessarily mean that you have this beautiful, elaborate, like wooden altar. Wouldn't we all want that? Where it's like got, these gorgeous doors and it's painted this beautiful color, a deep red or deep, or white, or it's whatever the case may be. Your dream altar doesn't have to be that. It literally can be on your bookshelf, on your nightstand. Sometimes you may not even be able to have that. Sometimes you may just be able to just have a card that you're focusing on for the week, and you just keep it right like upside like this in your deck, so you know, oh, this is my altar card, and I pulled out my deck and I see it here and I'm gleaning information. But altar cards have a specific thing about them, which is you have them out and about to be seen. You can work with them in your spiritual magical practices. You could work with them in terms of wanting to understand their meanings. You could work with them because you want to meditate on their meanings, or their images, or their keywords, etc. All that good stuff. So altar cards is one way to work with them. Let's move on to some unique ways to work with them. So we're now moving to 7 through 10. 7, using the tarot and oracle as writing prompts and tools for you as a writer. So it could help you. You could throw cards and be helped with things like your title, themes. I'm looking at a list here. Characters and character development, story arcs. Okay, it could help you with free writing prompts. So maybe you're not someone who writes like long form or short form, like short stories or essays or articles or novels or, whatever, technical books, whatever you write. Maybe you are just someone who is a journaler, or just someone who wants to maybe one day write their own personal memoir. Well, free thinking, free writing is a way of just consistently writing, not letting your pen lift the paper, and just writing consistently for a designated time. I did this in my creative writing courses that I took. I took specific writing courses for a publishing certificate I got from the community college in my 30s. It meant a lot to me. Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in business, but I have something that means even more to me, which was I took 12 units of upper level creative writing courses, creative nonfiction, which is like memoir and personal essay and biography, and then it's fiction, all sorts of stuff, the publishing, being an editor, all of that stuff. So like, it's just totally my bag. You may be a screenwriter, or you may be a poet, or you may be just someone who just really likes words and you just want to write and see where it goes. And it's a brain dump when you do free writing and free thinking and not lifting your pen up or your pencil up until the 5 minutes is up, or the 3 minutes is up, or 60 seconds, whatever you decide. And we did this as a part of those courses. I would take the writing courses from some of my professors who were published authors themselves. And yeah, it's cool. So you can use the tarot or oracle cards to say, okay, what theme am I going to free write on today? What is a theme for this particular story? What's the next theme for the next project I'm working on? Maybe you just create content for your blog or your vlogs, and you want a good copy of something that's jazzy and connects with people. You could use the cards for inspiration on what keywords to use in your description, in your vlog, in your blog, etc. So it definitely has a place in creative writing. And number eight. So readings for yourself. You can use the cards for readings for yourself. Obviously, that's a given, but sometimes people need a good reminder that, yes, it's amazing if you can read cards for others. When we have this gift, we just want to share it. And I definitely am one of those people who just wants to share it with others, this gift. But it's also a wonderful gift to do readings for yourself. So do that. Definitely make time. Make room in your life, in your mind, in your spirit for readings for yourself. Now, some people are like, I can't read for myself. And that's okay, and that's understandable. Then fine. then hire someone to do a reading for you, someone that you really respect as a reader, and have them do the reading for you if you can't do readings for yourself. But treat yourself to readings, because if you're doing readings for others all the time, it can start to feel a little like, okay. And then every now and then it just is so good for me and soul nourishing to get a reading from someone else who doesn't know me. I mean, I have my favorites who kind of know me, but sometimes it's nice to go to a new reader and get a new perspective. And yeah, so number 8 is readings for yourself. All right, let's look at number 9, readings for others. I talked about this. Readings for others is so soul nurturing. And maybe you have only been reading for yourself for a time and you're like, I'm not ready to read for others. Well, try reading for a family member, a friend, a trusted, and I say this because I was blessed to have trusted colleagues at work who knew that I was into cards, and they were like, I'm curious about getting a reading. Read on me, practice on me. And they allowed me to, but use that with caution. And then start to maybe incorporate reading in Facebook groups that allow offering readings maybe in exchange for other people doing reading exchanges, so you kind of learn how to read for someone else and they're practicing off of you off of them. Or you maybe just say, I don't want to do that, I just want to read for 5 people. So there's like Facebook groups that are out there that allow for that. I did a unique thing of just putting a call out for readers or for people to read for, either in giveaways or just saying, hey, I want to teach about this topic of teaching the cards. Can you give me a real life situation I can read for you? I'll keep your name private, but you're going to be on my channel. That helped me. I did participate a couple of times in the Facebook groups, but I just felt called to do readings for others when I was first starting out, for my family members, my friends, my colleagues, my trusted colleagues, and then my YouTube audience and my Facebook audience. And that helped my own personal audience who was finding me through my channel or finding me from my Facebook page for Abundant Life Tarot. So you can find some way to do that. And then eventually I love doing virtual readings so much that I just decided that was going to be the way that I do readings for others. Not everybody is called to do readings virtually. I am. And I just happen to be able to tap into that frequency to do it. So I just say yes to that. And you just find your way of expressing your tarot gifts when you're reading for others. And you will. And you'll have a blessed fun time. It's certainly a learning experience for sure. And number 10, last but not least, join a tarot study group. You can join mine. I have one going on as of October 2021. It's going to be going for 8 weeks, but it is evergreen. My tarot studies are evergreen. You can always join the Facebook group anytime, and then you would be able to see the tagged topics that we have for the tarot study and chime in or do a new post. And just make sure you tag it so people are like, oh, okay, this is all going into this one little area. So join the tarot study. You get to deep dive with other people into a particular deck. It's super exciting to have someone else's perspective on the cards, to be able to share your perspective with others, to also be held accountable for sticking with studying a deck. It's really cool. I'm so glad I've been doing this as a part of my Facebook group, Abundant Life Tarot group, and as a part of the channel. I love it. I treasure it. I love seeing which deck we end up deep diving into and seeing what comes of it. And I have to tell you that for me personally, having these tarot studies has definitely helped me connect and stay connected so far with the decks that we've studied. So join the tarot study group. You don't have to join mine. I mention mine because I really enjoy hosting it, And I've also started encouraging people in my Facebook group to start doing mini tarot studies or mini card studies, oracle studies if they wish, and creating studies groups within the group, because it's that important to me. It's super important for me to find ways to support how we can connect with the decks that we own, and that this is a wonderful way to do so. So you learn so much in a tarot study. Even if you just participate for a week or two, you learn a lot. So that's it. That's all, guys. I wanted to keep this video on the shorter side. I know, not so short, but these are the ways that you can work with your decks. So let me hear from you in the comments below. What do you think about these suggestions? Do you have additional suggestions to offer? If you do, don't be shy. Put it in the comment section below. We want to hear from you. All right, guys, take good care of yourselves. Again, thank you so much for watching, and especially thank you for liking the video and sharing it with others. Take care. See you in the next video. Bye.